Hey, what's up, guys? It's been quite a while since I've made one of these videos with my thoughts and opinion on it. Probably years. I'm not really sure. I don't remember. But what this video is about is not really the visuals or sound effects. I mean, let's be honest. I don't play with sound effects, nor do I really care about the visuals. I don't really care if it's perfectly in the middle or not, or if there's a little black tile next to the weapon. It doesn't really do anything to my gameplay. I will talk about something that is, in my opinion, much more important. How the game feels and how much I, at least, enjoy playing it with the Exalt launcher. What I want to talk about is the stuff that improves, at least for me, the gameplay by a lot. There is obviously going to be some bad parts that I don't like right now, but I'm very, very optimistic regarding them, considering that this is obviously the beta, and I feel like the parts that are not working as well as they should are generally because not enough people were testing it or not the right audience for testing it. I will get into that later. So honestly, at the beginning I was very, very skeptic regarding the Exalt launcher. I just saw, a big game with full screen and just the same launcher. I tried it out and played it for a few minutes and was like, okay, that's literally the same game. Doesn't really change anything for me. It's extremely uninteresting. So I felt like, okay, what a waste of money and time. But surprisingly, the more I played it, the more I started loving it. So it took me a little bit until I started really playing it, and right after I started playing it, I made Spencer and Nitro a new guild, which is called Content. This is going to be a very closed up guild. It is not going to be like Nutty, which will be like super open and everyone can join and we'll like choose the people and whatever, but we will keep the Discord completely closed up for the public. Anyways, over the last week I realized a lot of improvements in the game that didn't only improve the game for me, but completely remade the game. I felt like I was playing a new game, although I was playing the same thing. Generally, these amazing parts of this game that they added with the Exalt launcher were adding up. So this one small, really cool add-on kind of stacked up with the other ones, and just something amazing came out of it. And I want to talk about these one parts that I feel like gave me something that I've been missing for a long time in this game, and I know they have been bothering me a lot, like really a lot, and were like some of them were like one of the main reason why I stopped playing. Now let's go it one by one. So the smallest one is really the showing online members and the guild bot and whatever. You can still look at it in your friend list, so I'm gonna not go too deep into that. Something that is really, really nice in terms of guilds is that the guild chronicle and the guild board are combined now, so you can, for example, promote people while you edit the guild board, which is a lot easier and overall a lot better, and your messages, for example, will be seen a lot more. So I feel like that is a big improvement. Obviously there's still the discords and realm. Now, something that improved the game a huge amount for me is the overall stats, total fame, pets, and so much more. It is, in my opinion, a lot easier to overlook and a lot simpler, which is also for new players, in my opinion, a lot better. A lot of people are concerned with it not being as easy to find as the old client. But to new players, the stats and stuff like that doesn't really matter anyways, in my opinion. It's not as big of a problem in the long term, even a lot simpler and easier to use, in my opinion, considering that new players just play a game and try to level up, and they will just find that out by themselves. It took me a few minutes to find all of that out, so I think that's not much of a problem. I feel like it's a lot better and a lot easier to overlook. There's also this extremely nice feature that you can look up further stats on your characters anywhere. It's just a small thing. For example, you make a PPE archer and you do UDL skinning, trying to get a Doombow. I've had this once myself where I did 200 UDLs, even with the buffed drop rates, and I just didn't get one. And exactly on the 200th one, I got a Doombo. So it would have been amazing if I was able to look at my stats and just show, hey guys, literally 199 UDLs done, and I've got my Doombo. Now, this makes it now possible, and it's also overall very nice to look at, to know how much your total fame is. You can brag to friends about it at any place. You don't have to go to the Nexus, you don't have to go to Mule Dump or anything like that. You can just do it in any time, and I think that's making it a lot easier to do, and it's like a little bit adding to the fun of the game, in my opinion. Now here comes the main part. There's two main parts that are extremely important. I feel like not enough people were talking about it, and the one is the switching, and I'm not talking just about the characters but also the servers. In the old version you had to go back to the main menu, you had some loading, and then you could play your character and you were loading in again. Now you don't have to do that anymore. You can either at the top left click just on your name, click on the character, and you're in. You just can join the Nexus with it, and it's done. Super easy, super quick. The other way is to do it in the Nexus. It's just as easy. Now I feel like the taking away main menu is, in my opinion, a big of an improvement, because you just get thrown into the game, and I feel like it's a lot cooler and a lot less time investment, which is one of the main reasons actually why I stopped playing for a long time, because 50% to 60% in my opinion of my gameplay was just loading. So I don't know, especially like farming dungeons or whatever, it was so annoying. But this is really got fixed with Exalt, in my opinion. Like, it's also, as everything's just a lot quicker, a lot less loading times and so on. The other one is something even more major. To me, it has been always extremely annoying to change servers. I remember a lot doing doing a lot of Lost Hall runs, Shadows runs, and Tomb runs, and any event, and they kept changing servers all the time. So it was really annoying, considering that you were loading all the time so long into character select screen to the server and so on. And now you can just do it at once. You can just press escape or whatever your option key is, press on servers, click on the server, and it will automatically connect you to it. No more clicking around, no more loading times, you just get instantly into the server. It is amazing. It is, in my opinion, one of the best things they could have ever added to the Unity client. Big thank you for it. Now here comes the main part. Number one reason why I believe that the Exalt client is extremely good for the game, long term, short term, for any player in the game, and that is, it's finally 64-bit. What does this mean? Well, before, in the Flash client, you just had to restart your game every 30 to 60 minutes depending on what you did. At one point you just hit a memory point where it just closed your game, your minimap didn't load, and so on. Now with Exalt, I can play for hours and hours. I can get up to 5 million memory. Although while there are memory leaks, it doesn't really matter to me, considering I'm not going to have this game open for, 10 hours anyways. I feel like this is probably the best part of the whole Exalt client, because I remember having to restart all the time. I missed so many dungeons, I missed so much stuff just having to restart. Now I can just do my thing, I can just play the game for as long as I want without having to restart. This is, in my opinion, the biggest improvement of everything. Well, that's pretty broad, but I guess you know what I'm talking about. Now there's also the bigger vision. I think I felt very skeptical at the beginning because of that. It does take a bit to get used to. When I started playing that, I was like, man, everything's so confusing. But after a few hours, I felt a lot better with it. And after a day or two, I completely got used to it and didn't want to go back. Because you realize there is actually a lot to it. It is a lot easier to coordinate with such a big field. I felt like a lot more comfortable like that. But I think, especially for newer players, this is amazing for them. considering that if you're starting to play a game, you generally don't want to play it at 800 minus 600. I feel like it's way too small for a ton of players and way too casual. So I think that's a huge, huge plus. You can always like zoom in, but obviously in full screen it looks a lot bigger than you used to. But some cool trick is that you can go to the options, set the game to windowed, set it to 800 minus 600, and it is pretty much going to be like your old Flash game. But I'm definitely personally keeping it on full screen with the zoomed out version, because I feel like the plays you can overlook, like, and the stuff you can see with it, and the whole dungeon layout and so on you can see with it, it's a lot easier to coordinate and to play the game more efficiently. Now here's a few problems. That before I talk about the problems, I'm very optimistic regarding them, because these problems are major problems that have to get fixed anyways, and they will be fixed for 100%, because obviously they can't let it through. They really can't. Now, the first thing is obviously the constant DCs. A lot of people say, yeah, in Oryx Castle at Guardians I DC a lot. It's not Oryx Castle, it's not a Guardians necessarily, it's the amount of people. I ran a lot of fungals. I ran Crystal Caverns and fungals, around 40 of them at this point. I got on my PPE voucher already like 5,800 base thing on the making of this video. I will probably be a lot more after that. And I actually had to change back to the Flash client to do these, because it just disconnected you all the time. You couldn't do it. It's just too much. Had the same problem with Lost Halls, Oryx Castle, and anything that is like really clouded obviously is the most obvious in Oryx Castle, considering that there is 80 people loading in at the same time, so very often it just kicks you right up at the shakeout of the game because it just can't handle it, or it is just kicking you out at the Guardians where the most people are at the same spot and shooting the same thing, and maybe there's a ton of status effect due to quiet bombs and whatever. So I feel like that's very reasonable. But it's also understandable that it is happening, since there were obviously not enough people to test this. You would have near like hundreds of people playing at the same time to really test it out. How these disconnects happen, even if they happen, they probably didn't even know about it, or thought it was like a lot less worse than it actually is. So it's absolutely fine that it is right now like that, because obviously it's still in beta. It's right now, as I'm making this video, in closed beta, but it is going to be open beta very soon. So I feel like they were going to test this. They were going to fix it very soon. But yeah, I'm very optimistic about it. Really, really optimistic about it. Now there's also really cool bugs like text turning around. UDL traps can like move text in the right angle. It's really weird. It's the same with tomb buttons. I think it's for everything that you place on top of another tile. Not really sure. It's really cool. And even more DCs. But honestly, if they fix all the crashes, it is going to be something that I won't change away from. Like, I will never go back to Flash. It's just so much better. It is stunningly good. Now there's another big problem. I feel like a lot of people didn't really talk too much about that. I haven't seen a single person talk about it. It is honestly not hitting many players. I feel like barely anyone is not going to notice this, but for me, and I feel like other content creators, this is going to be very, very annoying. I like streaming. I love streaming. I've streamed other games in the past few months here, and I really enjoy doing it. Now, I stream with Streamlabs. It's definitely the most used streaming program right now. It is amazing. It's working really well. It's super easy to overlook and so on. And I have like several setups on there that I use for streaming. Now, here's my problem. Streamlabs is not able to recognize this game as a game, just like Discord doesn't recognize it as an official game. The reason for that to be a problem is I can't use it as a window, I can't use it as a game capture. There is no way to do it. I cannot directly record stream the game on Streamlabs. So what I would have to do is to change back to my OBS, which is able to stream the game gladly. Um, but I feel like that would be pretty bad considering I've set my Streamlabs a lot better up as my OBS, and I feel like the quality on there is a lot better as well. So while this obviously doesn't affect the normal community, I feel like it might play a big part in terms of the YouTube and streaming community in the future. So I feel like it is also a very high priority to fix that and to manage to get the right programs to recognize the game. I feel like it's very important. Other than that, I think it's a great game. I feel like it's amazing. There's obviously some small things you could add to it, FPS counter and so on. But one thing I really would want to see is being able to disable pets and players and stuff like that, so you can finally see shots in bigger group. I feel like a lot of people have been asking for that. It's in my opinion something very useful as well. I know it's being a lot in hacked clients, but there's a reason why it is being a lot, why it's being used in there a lot. But yeah, overall, I am honestly extremely surprised by how successful and amazing this actually is. I did not expect that. I honestly did not expect it. I was so skeptical about it. And I'm so happy that it is that amazing, that it works so well. And as soon as my Streamlabs can capture the game, I'm going to stream it a lot. And I'm going to make videos about my streams, I'm going to show it a lot. So make sure to check it out. There's obviously always a link of the stream in the description. And for the 10 people or 5 people who made it to the end of the video, thank you very much. Have a great day. Hope you have a great Easter.